If statements can have else statements below them. So an else statement is just the part of the code that happens if the if statement does not happen. So for example, if an if statement's condition evaluates to false, then we will skip this code and we'll jump into the code that's in the else statement. If, however, the if statement's condition evaluates to true, then we will do this code and we'll totally ignore whatever's in the else statement. So for example, student grade is greater than 80. If this evaluates to false, we're gonna print out, sorry, you failed. If this evaluates to true, so if the grade is greater than 80, then we'll say, congrats, you passed the class, and we'll totally ignore this else code because we did go into the if statements code. So else is just anything that happens if doesn't happen. We can chain else statements, a bunch of them, if we have more conditions within them. So for example, we could have, if the student's grade is greater than 80, then congrats, you passed the class. If this is not true, then we jump to the next else. Then we check if the student's grade is greater than 50, and we go into this code. If this had been false, then we jump to the last else and we just print out, sorry, you failed. If this had been true, we would print out, you barely passed the class, and we would ignore this else. So anytime you do go into the if statement, then you ignore the else statements that come below. Finally, you can have nested if statements. So for example, you can have, if the light is green, then we're gonna print out light is green anytime that the light is green. But once we're already in this if statement, we're gonna also have this condition saying, if there's cars in the way, then print honk. So at this point, if there's cars in the way and the light is green, we're gonna print light is green and we're gonna print honk. If the light is green, but there's no cars in the way, then we're gonna print light is green. We're gonna skip honk because we go into this if statement, it evaluates to false, and we jump into the else of this if. So this else is not the else of this if, but it is the else of this if. So if this is false, then we're gonna jump in here. We're gonna print time to drive. Now this else pertains to this bigger else if up here. So if this ends up being false, then we jump to this else and we say light is red, don't drive.